Content for devs. The world beyond programming.
So welcome in the next episode, in the second episode of the Content for Devs podcast.
Yeah, we have a name now.
Yeah, awesome. This came from Jamie Laurel. We received that on Twitter. We are extremely grateful for that. So I'm Smace Vilgos, and we are together here with Federico Laschetti.
Yeah, Ketty. Remember, it's an I. The problem is the first I. It always gets confused with an L.
Okay, I will definitely learn very soon. But before we start with the actual main topic of the episode, I want to share some updates related to the progress on the podcast itself. So based on the the podcast name we choose, I have claimed some domain name and some social media account that we will set up relatively soon. I have also reached out to our good friend, editor, Adam Morowiec from To The Wall company, who actually helps us editing Hanami Master episodes. And he will also take care of making sure that audio in our released episodes will be quite better than just streaming out whatever we will say. This comes from a great inspiration from Real Ruby episode. And finally, Federico, I have reached out to some guests. So in not so distant future, we will have some great people joining to our episode, having a chat about their stories and background. I hope this is exciting. So hi, Federico. What's up?
Hi, everything well here? Not sleeping well because I'm sleeping with my kids because I'm alone with them and it's very hot here. Yeah, I'm spending some rough nights, but now I'm very well.
It's funny to hear that when you talked about the temperature in your town, I immediately thought that about the other side that you are oriented around object programming and I'm more focused around functional programming in Ruby. You are more into Rails. I'm into Hanami in Ruby as a developer. And also when there is very hot in Argentina, in Poland, it's winter.
Yeah.
And so it's like almost opposite.
They're polar opposites.
So amazing stuff to just join together and talk about some funny topics, right?
Yeah.
What do we want to talk today?
So the topic we decided was when to start creating content and why. But before that, I want to ask you a small question. Did you try out Hanami too?
Of course.
It's awesome.
3,000 of times because while I had been preparing the guide for Hanami 2, I also created a few sample sandbox applications. I am producing episode, and the first episode for Hanami Master that is using official release of the Hanami 2.0. It will cover slices management.
Nice.
It will explain how slices work and some cool use cases that we can use slices for, how we can organize applications. And so I had some fun already, and definitely soon I will start something real.
I played around with it a bit just before the weekend, not much, but it looks very nice. I like the generators it had because creating everything by hand with all those modules and things was painful for me, but the generators really do the trick.
I can't wait until somebody will came up with a visual code extension that will fulfill empty Ruby class name with namespaces, with module namespaces, just based on the path, the relative path. And
that'd be nice.
Final. Yeah, definitely. So looking forward to it.
I've been thinking of writing something about something like that for Emacs because it's painful once you start having too many subdirectories, submodules. It gets painful, but yeah, interesting things.
But overall, yes, I'm also very happy about how things are looking, I am still exploring a few things and reporting some bugs that appear to be features that I was not aware of. Still a lot of learning curve related to Hanami 2.0, but I'm so excited about this release. Just that on the day that it was released, I needed to take a break from my daily job because I could not focus anymore. Like after 2 years of work and waiting, just finished in a single point in time. And it was so much excitement that they just could not work anymore and they needed to take a break and then relax and chill out. Came out with children to walk. And that was very awesome.
Cool. Okay, let's dive into the topic. When should we start creating content?
What is your state on this part?
Yeah, my take is right now, because but that's mostly because I tend to let things go if I don't do it right away. But I think it's a good idea to start once you have a good idea or something you like to share, to start sharing it. Maybe not the way you want to. For example, something I'm trying to do and something you did with Hanami Mastery was you intend to write screencasts, but you start by delivering just the text because it's easier to start with text and then edit the video or record and edit. But just launching and having that energy put into the project that right away, I think it's a good thing to have. What do you say?
Personally, I definitely agree. I agree. This is also what I did in the past, and especially that there are some other ways to produce content and share ideas with the world. For example, some people produce Twitter threads. There are a lot of cool guys on Twitter just share their ideas, their mindset, point of view to the world and how the life is going, or to the technical caveat.
Yeah.
And this is also very cool, especially now when there is something like a short Ruby newsletter existing, which aggregate those cool Twitter threads and posts and share with the world and aggregate together and share with the world in the one email. That's it. If we don't want to spend too much time or we are not sure what we are actually want to write about, we can just send out a tweet, one, and then the other one. And before we even realize, we have a cool base of knowledge that we can refer to ourselves.
Yeah. That's funny because I was listening the other day to The Art of Product, which is a podcast by Ben Orenstein and Derek something. I'm sorry, I forgot his last name. Derek Reimer. And Ben was interviewing Adam Wadden, who is the creator of Tailwind CSS. He also created a book called Refactoring UI. So the way they marketed, or one of the ways they marketed the book, was to tweet out good information about examples of how to refactor or how to design certain things. And the funny thing, you said, okay, but you very quickly throw out the tweet. And Adam was saying that they sometimes spend 2 weeks working on one tweet to make it great, which was very interesting to me. Yeah. You need to listen to that episode. It's very interesting.
Okay. This is interesting. And definitely send it out to me. And I will put it in the notes.
Yeah, I will search for it right now so we can have it. We can keep talking.
But I have also a question for you. Wouldn't that depend on the reason that drives you, depend on what motivates you to actually start writing? Because we want to talk about the when to start, but also why we want to start. And I think those are related questions, especially because, depending on what would you like to achieve. If you are just starting your journey with, as a developer in your development career, you may have a lot of stress related to sharing your thoughts because what people will say or whatever. Like you can feel that you don't know enough to share with anybody, right? The truth is that always there is like somebody who knows less and can learn from you.
Yes.
But this helps you grow. This helps you learn. So if you start sharing and writing articles, like organizing your thoughts and learning, it will be easier for you to learn.
Yes.
But you have some other priorities. For example, when you want to start a blog, you want to gain traction quickly. You don't want to waste time at all. And the learning is not as relevant for you because you have other ways to learn. Maybe it would be better for you to wait. For example, I found that there are a lot of people who just appear on the web and say, I'm ex-Googler or I'm ex-Facebook developer, right? And immediately just because of that, they gain a lot of traction, a lot of authority. So whenever they share something or start an initiative, it is way easier for them to gain audience and monetize blog or monetize project or whatever. Because there's like this maybe thinking that if you are ex-Google employer, you really need to know what you are talking about. And that can help also. So what do you think about maybe it's better to just focus on the career first for the few years, just to do everything under the company's wing and attend to conferences, learn how to write articles, but under the brand of the company you're working on. And only when you feel ready, you just resign, start your own business, and then you just have this authority and baking that can help you grow faster. What do you think?
Yeah. The big word here is it depends on a couple of things. First of all, as you said, your objective, your target. Also, something I was thinking while you were speaking is it depends a lot on your audience. If you're if you're a junior and you want to use it as a learning tool, that's great. You should start right now. But if you're a senior and you want to target advanced programmers, writing right out of the gate, whatever comes out, maybe it wouldn't help a lot. And you might want to, retreat for a while and also have a lot of consideration about what you write and how you write about it. Maybe you want to go really deep, really quick. So instead of writing whatever you're just working right now, you wait, you collect notes, and then you make a big post with a lot of information aimed towards advanced developers. And that would be more helpful for them, which in turn will be more helpful for you. So it really depends on all those things. And having a brand, writing under a brand can be a very good idea. I never done it, to be honest. So I really don't know the implications of that. I've always wanted to have my own content and be able to do whatever I want with it. So I'm not entirely sure how that plays.
Could you clarify that? Because I know that you produce content for Ruby Tapas. So graceful dev right now.
Yeah, but yes. Yeah, in that case, I was hired to produce. And so I was just part of the chain, the same way I'm part of the chain in Hanami Mastery. And I also wrote a couple of episodes, which was basically more or less my attempt of learning the entire process. And on the other hand, it also was like my idea to launch myself as a creator, to have some agency. No, agency is not the word. Yes, as a marketing technique. Then I ended up doing something else. So I never cashed that in. But I always had my own blog at the side, and I always had my own content on the side. That's my take. I don't mean never write for anyone else. I just mean I wouldn't launch a blog entirely under a brand name, which is not mine, because I don't have, for example, with Ruby Tapas, I don't really have a lot of ownership over that contents, right? So if I want to publish it somewhere else, I'll have to ask Abdi to either release it as a free episode or send me the files or whatever. I don't have, but they are a couple of episodes. It's not my entire blog. It's not my entire screencasting series or anything like that.
To summarize, the ownership, the fact that you own the project you are working on is important for you.
Yes.
I can imagine that there are other people who this part is actually not important at all. They can have completely different way of looking at publishing. And a lot of people don't want to have and own a blog. This is why platforms like medium.com or dev.to and things like that, there are others. There are people who just want to share a single idea, a single episode, and a single article, and this is why they don't want to have a blog, because having a blog requires you to publish regularly. This is
to maintain it.
Commitment, responsibility, additional maintenance work that some people don't want to bother. They want to be developers, and from time to time, they want to just share with the world what they know.
What I'm saying is I understand that. I really do. Just not the person to talk to that because I don't have the experience or the mindset to talk about that. If you are that way, if you think that way, I think it's great because you are giving something to others. You're giving a piece of content and that's great. I'm just not the person to talk about that because I really don't know. I have a different mindset.
I'm a person that is in the middle. I don't mind writing to other people's blogs because it's very beneficial to me personally, but also it can help more people. If I have a very low audience and I can write to, for example, HubSpot or AppSignal, and there are a lot of companies, Ruby companies that actually allow for external writers to write on their blogs and actually pay for it even. So by writing on other people's blog or the company blog, I actually can help their audience, right? By sharing ideas and also make use of their marketing, their search optimizations and things like that to share this idea with wider range of people that I would never reach out on my own. So as long as I have my own blog, and this is not like a commitment to blog on other people's blog like regularly every week or every month, and then I'm fine with that.
Yeah, in that sense, we agree.
Okay.
I actually agree on that.
But what do you think about risk management? In terms of what we discussed before, starting right now in the early stage of career or starting later in a few years when you will be successful, for example, what is the risk? What is more?
I think it's more risky, the second one, because being a junior, being new to something and writing about it frees you from having to know a lot. And you're actually polishing on the side, you're polishing a new ability, which is writing. So you might gain traction or you might not. But I don't think producing content has a downside unless you write controversial content and you get in the crossfire of something. But if you are writing technical content, the worst thing that can happen, in my opinion, and I might be mistaken, I hope not, but the worst thing that can happen is you just don't get traction.
I disagree.
Okay.
It's hard to be objective. And take Hanami Mastery, for example. I have started blog because I was excited on the project. Previously to that, I was Ruby on Rails developer for 10 years and I loved Rails. I had some issues with it, but I am grateful that it exists because I'm here where I am right now because of that, right? Because this project is there. But when I started provisioning content about Hanami, and I could not hide my excitation because why I would, right? Yeah. And then I got some feedback why I'm hating Rails. Like some questions, people started sending me questions why I'm hating. And it was completely not a case. And it is still not a case. Even in Ascenda, for example, we have different services and some are written in Rails and some with Hanami. And the whole idea is to bring more diversity to Ruby community. But even though I'm producing technical content, still, I get some kind of categorization for myself when people will try to hire me and I'm doing so much Hanami related content publication. I think it could affect my possibilities to be hired as a Rails developer.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
already took a side.
I didn't think it with that eyes.
I don't think it's fair and should be this way, but I think this is a risk, especially if you are starting and you have not so much confidence. Picking a side could bring this fear to you.
Yeah.
And from my perspective, actually, it always positively impacts the career. But yeah, just I disagree that it can be just have no effect at all.
Yeah, I didn't think it like that. I am thinking it more on the idea that if you are sharing what you are learning and you are honest about that, if you're saying, okay, this is what I learned this week, I think it should be very hard to get very bad takes from people, which it should, but it might not because it's very polarized. If you say, I like blue, you will have 100 people saying, why do you hate red? Yeah, I agree on that. Still, for a beginner, I think it should be a bit less risky, but Yeah, no, you made me question it. But on the other hand, it's also risky to come out as an experienced developer with a very, because if you're just learning, you will say, okay, I learned this, I did it like this because I don't know, I think of this or that. The world is two ways or whatever. If you are an expert, you might say, okay, I'm doing this with, say, Hanami, and there is no question about that. There's a risk that you will have a lot of people, if you are more polarized because of your experience, because you know how to do this and you're explaining it, because you will have the other side ramping through you. And I think that's a bit more risky, in my opinion. Again, I might be wrong.
In the moment you close your mind on the other people's opinion and you start saying that your takeaway is the only way, and this is because you are an expert, this is a first step to stop being an expert.
But you don't need to say it. But just by explaining the way you did it, you are leaving things out. Again, I like blue. You will have a lot of people saying, why do you hate red? You don't need to hate red. You don't need to say red is bad or I won't do red. You will say, I like blue. And
yeah, but I completely understand. But just when we share something, and this feedback we can get back from people, and it doesn't matter if we are juniors or seniors or even Hanami or the right authors, right? Yeah. Doesn't matter, because if we are open to this feedback, we can learn more. And yes. One example is our recent Hanami Mastery episode that you have been an author of. We have released the version related episode about semantic versioning, and we have covered a gem and the bump gem, right?
Yes.
Quickly update versions in Ruby. And we comment from other gems authors related to the updating and managing versions of gems in Ruby. And because of that, I have learned about other tools that are potentially better than what I shown in the episode and what I knew and used in multiple projects. And because of the author reached out to me because they have different opinion. And without me being open for that, I would never actually.
Yeah, you would have close to that and took it as an attack instead of feedback.
So I would also want to ask you the other point of risk. Think about if you will take a bet that in 5 years you will be a successful Google developer or Netflix, whatever, top paid and top performed developer companies. What is the chance of being such? And what is the chance that you will actually in 5 years be able to use top performing tech company as a back for your authority to start your content related project?
That depends a lot on the personality of the developer, but there's a good chance, I think, if you do things right, that you can reach that point in say 5 years. But that's subject to how you do it. How's your personality? Maybe you like to, for example, I'm very, say, timid on projects and things like that. So I don't go forward too much. Yeah. I learn a lot. I do a work, whatever, but I don't tend to, how do you say it in English? Yeah, to be different or to be noticed too much. So it depends a lot on that, I think. But if you can make yourself noticed and do things well, of course, notice in a good way, in a way of that the way you do things makes the company better and help other people and things like that, and help the project, etc. I think you can achieve it. What do you think?
I'm not an employee of any kind of even Ruby giants like GitHub, Shopify. I think this is out of my reach because I prioritize my family way more than the career. And this kind of stops my career path. So this is a good topic to ask some people from those top tech companies that we will invite in the future, yes. Right?
You can reach to us.
I guess it's risky to take a bet that we will get to the top tech companies in the future. And because of that, we will be able to create content more efficiently and in the project.
Yeah.
Once we actually achieve something like that. So once I would get a job in GitHub. And once I would already achieve being a staff developer, for example, then the risk is not existing. I can just quit and make use of this company authority and my position there or exposition that to bake up my other businesses. But before I achieve that, the risk is quite high. And this is why I prefer just spending some time to produce content on the way and document my journey on the way instead of planning out that I will only start creating content after spending the 3 years in Google. So that is my take on this part. And
so I agree on that. I think when I had my answer, I wasn't thinking exactly about me because my probabilities of achieving that is exactly 0 because I don't think I'll ever try to get into a big company anymore. So it's actually 0, but I was posting it as someone that is already inside that company. If you want to produce content and the way you want to achieve it is I will be hired at Google or Facebook or Netflix or whatever. And then five years from now, I will start producing content because I will be, don't do that. That's a lot of work that might or might not work. It's very risky in that case. If you're inside the company and you have the right mindset and the right personality and you work very hard and then you can do it. But I don't think it's a good option to start from the outside and have that path marked out because that's very hard. I really agree on that.
Okay. And the other argument that speaks into starting publishing something early is the effect. If I want to start a blog in the first year of producing content, probably not so many people will even notice that. And Google will not start indexing and trust me as their algorithm will not trust my blog getting a lot of authority. So they will not put my articles high in the searching position, right? And similar stuff happens for YouTube videos, YouTube publications. And I bet for other like podcasting services, algorithms, everything, it works the same. I'm following a channel, like kind of famous productivity guru, Ali Abdal on YouTube, who had created a course, part-time YouTube academy. And he says there that first 50 videos on YouTube completely does not matter. In the way, it doesn't matter you will do it right or not because nobody really will watch it.
Right.
So until you have 50 videos published, you should not even evaluate if making online business makes sense. But if YouTube will start noticing you only after you publish 50 or 100 videos, it's very important to publish them, right? And
yes.
The sooner you will publish them, it is better to you. And this is why easier, like more beneficial if we will start early. Similar to the savings, right? If you will start saving and investing early, it will benefit in the future, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I have nothing to say against that. I think and if you write 50 blog posts and you don't like them, you can always turn them off. You can always take down the blog. If you don't want, suddenly you want to become a Rails developer and you have a blog about Hanami and it's getting very hard for you to work on Rails because you are the Hanami guy now. You can always take that down and wait for some time and get a Rails job. There's nothing permanent. It's not set in stone, I think. I don't recommend doing that, but you can always change path. That's what I mean.
Yeah, changing path is easier. I agree.
Yeah.
It also shows me or recalls me one thing. If a company would reach out to me and there would be a problem that I'm producing content for Hanami, and because of that, I would not get a Rails job, I immediately would not even consider such a company to
yes.
enter.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
This is not a culture I'm looking for. I like completely, no.
Yeah. You put in a very weird example, a very dystopic example, just as an exaggeration or respect.
But continuing, if you're like smart company, you will notice that, okay, this guy actually produced content for Hanami because he's excited of what they are doing, right? Yes. So if we will give him a job that he will be excited about, there is a high chance that he will do a lot of good things around that. And even learning stuff, educating people, sharing the content in the world, because this is cool. And this is the culture and mindset that I'm looking for if I would want to switch companies or change a job in the future.
Yeah, exactly. If you're looking for a company to work on, you should always have in mind that you should be a fit for the company and the company should be a fit for you, which is a very smart tip I heard at some point. Have that in consideration, which is what you're saying. Say it in other words.
Okay, that's clear, I think. So the summary would be, in our opinion, better to start early than late.
Yes.
And don't care too much.
Unless you're aiming towards very advanced people. Otherwise, yes, so as early as you can.
Unless this is not a priority. So, for example, you don't want publishing content right now. You only want to be a developer right now. And in 5 years, it appears that you are already a GitHub developer or Shopify principal. And then you think, okay, it would be nice to start writing something. Yeah. So the next question and the last question for today would be, what types of content one could start doing? We can start today, always today, never tomorrow, and what types of content we could start doing then?
Oh, this is very diverse and I might forget a lot of them, but the first one that comes to mind is blogging or screencasting or streaming. Those are the three that comes to mind very quickly for me. Those are the kinds of content I like to produce and I like to consume as well. But as you said, you could produce content over Twitter or Mastodon now or any other social media or even Instagram or TikTok or whatever, producing videos, not screencasts, but any kind of video, podcasting, which is what we are doing right now. We are streaming and podcasting at the same time. What else comes to your mind?
About the blogging, as I said, some people don't want maybe some responsibility, accept some responsibility related to that, like continuing blogging and doing it all the time. Or maybe they need to monetize every time. You are a junior developer, you don't earn much, or you are changing your career path from being a builder, for example, a developer. And then maybe you want to just monetize whatever you do to fulfill your family life. And in these early stages, I find very useful to reach out to some companies that sponsor guest blogging, right? Because then you can write a single article. You are an author, but under the company's branding, you reach out a lot of audience. So people get noticed you as a person, but you immediately get paid for this single article. And this is very useful thing for the early stage content communication, I would say.
Yes.
I am also surprised of the power of newsletter, and those are pretty awesome. I definitely am interested in this kind of topic, like producing any kind of aggregation. If you just don't feel as a person that wants to share your thoughts, but you are consuming a lot of content, right? You are learning a lot. You are you are watching articles, videos, reading articles, then maybe aggregating that and sharing with people by the email would be your service, your thing. And there are a lot of cool Ruby developers who actually do it. And I'm very grateful for that. So this is another thing. And the one would be community, creating community, whatever, Facebook group, maybe some Slack or Discord channel. There are a lot of potential. Yeah. So this is something I have in mind. I don't know how to create community. I would love to know. And maybe at some point in my life, I will finally know something will click in my head and I will finally know. But I suck with.
Yeah, this networking is difficult. Yeah. The other way of producing content is producing courses, even in person or recorded courses. And the other one I was thinking is conference talks.
Yep, this is similar to guest blogging, but in terms of, a bit harder, I think.
Yes.
Also, the open source contributions. However, it's not maybe the content in terms of just educating people. It is very useful and it really levels up the career when learning. It has a lot of common with just content publication and speeding up the learning while developing.
Yeah.
Open source contributions are definitely things. And any kind of side project. I know a person who created a Slack bot and that was very successful. So a lot of fun stuff can be done after hours. So yeah, I think the potential is really estimated by anyone.
Yeah.
The only thing that restricts us is our imagination.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of channels we did not mention.
Yeah, I agree on that. Yeah, I was going to say exactly that. We are probably forgetting some, and they will come much more channels or ways to produce content. A couple of years ago, we couldn't even imagine, a lot of years ago, we couldn't even imagine sharing content over social media because it didn't exist directly. The only way to produce content was radio or TV. And now, there are lots and lots of ways. Interesting future we have ahead.
Yeah. Also, I have a conversation with Noel Rappi, who is an author of 14 development books.
Yeah, which is another way of producing content.
Yeah, I asked him, but how? How did you produce 14 books if I cannot imagine writing even one? And he said just over time. He started early. And now when you think about Ruby book, you will think about his name first.
Yeah, one way to produce a book or a course I learned is, and I learned this from Abdi, you produce content. So Abdi released a book called Objects on Rails a while ago. And I think it was that one he did this way. So the way he did it was producing content for the blog and then joining all those blog posts together. And of course, you have to make them consistent and make them be one thing, but the content was produced beforehand and it was used beforehand. And I know some other people that did it this way. And I did my book that way. I decided to write a course about Roda. And once I had 15 chapters, I said, wow, I can just put this all together, add an introduction and some glue text, and use all of this as one thing, one unit. And that's a nice way to produce a book.
I actually took a different approach for my Udemy course, RISE API Udemy course, because I started very narrow in terms of content. It was maybe 2 hours of content recorded, and I released that. I launched a blog that when I published some articles that were extension to this course, and I looked for statistics, and if one article got more traction or more students actually wrote with feedback to me and there was interest, then I added a new chapter to my course covering those topics. And over time, because Udemy allows you to start and release course quickly, till you can re-record, update, replace chapters, like whole edition process. Over time, I extended and added different modules like authorization, authentication, and Postman. Like I had a lot, complete Postman related module where I guide through Postman application because people were interested how to do it. But this came 3 years after I released my first version of the course. So this is another way where we can just publish a book and then extend every version over time. But because of Udemy, it's great because it can just allow you to monetize quickly.
Yeah, that's a great way to do it as well. Start small and keep adding.
Yeah, there is a quote from the Company of One book that I read at some point that you should always start small but think big.
Yeah, I heard that and it's very mind-opening.
This brings us to the end for today, I think.
Yes, I think it's time to wrap up.
So thank you very much. And if you make sure that you check out the show notes of the episode, we will try to link them all the tools and code tips that we mentioned. And yeah, see you in the next episode.
See you in the next one. Bye.